Whispers of the Himalayas. Arrival in the mist. The biting air snatched the breath from my lungs the second I stepped off the rattling little plane. I swear, you could practically chew the altitude. Lukla, Nepal. 62 years old, retired architect. And I was finally here. Towering majestic Himalayas vanished into the swirling misty clouds, a constant tease. All my life I'd dreamed of this. Trekking the forgotten valleys and ancient monasteries, losing myself in a land of pure legend and spirituality. But beneath the thrill, there was this hollow, quiet ache. It had been 7 years since Sarah, my wife, passed. I hadn't truly felt alive since. I was hoping this journey, this crazy, wonderful pilgrimage, could finally shake me awake. I was wandering through the chaotic village market, a map clutched in my hand that felt utterly useless when I saw her. Her eyes were dark and deep, and they looked at me and didn't just see a lost tourist with a paper map. They saw the weariness, the years of grief settled in my bones. She smiled a soft, knowing smile and said something that just resonated. "You're far from the beaten path," she said, her voice a gentle melody. "But the mountains have a way of rewarding those who dare to wander." And in that moment, without a second thought, I just knew she was meant to be my guide. She said the Himalayas weren't just mountains. They were ancient, living things, keepers of secrets and stories lost to time, paths only a handful of souls had ever found. I felt a weird, unexpected spark of trust, a flash of pure curiosity I hadn't felt in forever. I immediately said yes. That night, the wind howled and rattled the wooden shutters of the small stone lodge. Priya unrolled a faded, almost crumbling manuscript. It told an ancient legend of a lost monastery, said to give incredible insight to those who truly sought it. She leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Some journeys change not just where you go, but who you are." My heart, long dormant, began to beat a little faster, a nervous, beautiful rhythm. I felt the first stirrings of pure, unadulterated wonder, and, unbelievably, anticipation. I was finally alive again. The Hidden Valley. The trek was a beast. It was brutal and relentless. The paths were slivers of rock clinging to the sheer cliffs. Streams swollen and raging with melted snow sliced across our path. The thin, punishing altitude was a constant, suffocating weight on my chest. Priya's calm, steady confidence was the only thing that kept me putting one foot in front of the other, even when fatigue and a quiet, insistent doubt tried to drag me down. One afternoon, a particularly brutal stretch, I slipped on some loose gravel. My heart lurched into my throat. Priya grabbed me, her hand instantly finding mine. My pulse hammered not from the fall, but from the sudden, undeniable jolt of her touch. "You must trust yourself," she said, her voice so steady, so sure as she helped me up. "And trust the path. The mountains will not harm those who respect them." That night, we made camp under a sky that was a dizzying canvas of stars. The Milky Way was a glowing river of light stretched out above us. I lay there, thinking about my past life, all the quiet resignation I'd allowed myself, the love I'd lost, the choices I had been too afraid to make. Priya, as if sensing the silent weight of my thoughts, began to share her own story. A marriage that had faded into silence, a life spent searching for meaning in the rugged, beautiful hills of her homeland. It was a raw, beautiful exchange of vulnerability. The next day, guided by a cryptic clue from the old manuscript, we followed a barely there path to a breathtaking waterfall hidden deep in a narrow gorge. I was so excited I couldn't stand still. We found an old, faded carving on the rock face behind the cascading water. It was the first clue to the monastery. It wasn't just a discovery of stone and symbols, it was a symbol of our own growing bond, a shared moment of courage that we'd found together. Trials of the heart. The higher we climbed, the more the air thinned, and the path became absolutely terrifying. Avalanches and sudden violent snowstorms forced us to rely on each other completely. My deepest, most persistent fears of failure, of my own physical weakness, were right there, confronting me with every single step. But Priya's quiet strength and endless patience became my lifeline. I couldn't have gone on without her. One night, a sudden blizzard trapped us in a narrow mountain pass. We were huddled in our tiny tent, the wind howling outside like ancient, vengeful spirits. My heart felt heavy with a fear I couldn't name. "I'm not sure I can do this," I whispered. The words barely a breath. Not just the trek, but living again. Priya didn't hesitate. She reached out and touched my arm so gently. Her eyes were warm and understanding. "Perhaps living again is exactly why you're here," she said. "Courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward anyway." Inside our small tent, the air was thick with our shared vulnerability. Our hands found each other and our fingers intertwined, a quiet, unspoken promise. We didn't need words. Every glance, every shivering breath of fear or burst of shared laughter was a language deeper than speech. We found a hidden cave, tucked away from the blizzard's fury. Inside, faint murals depicted monks on journeys of self-discovery. I felt a sudden, profound shift in my understanding. The legend of the monastery wasn't about some magical place. It was about inner transformation. It was about the awakening of the heart and the spirit. It was about us. Chapter 4. The summit of revelation. After what felt like an eternity of trekking, we finally reached a plateau high above the clouds. My legs ached, my lungs burned, and I felt more alive than I had in years. There, in the distance, it appeared, the lost monastery. It was a cluster of stone buildings, ancient prayer flags fluttering frantically in the wind, a beacon of hope. The sight was so breathtaking, so beautiful. It felt almost unreal, bathed in a soft, ethereal golden light. Priya and I walked toward it in complete silence, our hearts pounding from something more than just physical exertion. It was pure awe. We found an altar inside and a single profound message carved into the stone. To seek the world is to seek yourself. To open your heart is to touch eternity. Tears blurred my vision. I realized this journey hadn't been about conquering mountains at all. It was about rediscovering life, about allowing myself to love again after such crushing loss. Priya stood right beside me, her hand resting so lightly on my shoulder. We shared a quiet moment, the kind of silence that speaks louder than any words. Around us, the Himalayas stretched out, an infinite, humbling reminder that life's greatest adventures are as vast and unpredictable as the peaks themselves. The open horizon on the way back down, we walked together through serene villages and prayer halls, carrying the serenity of the monastery within us. The bond between us had deepened beyond a casual acquaintance. It was something more. It was trust, a deep admiration, and the courage to feel again. On our final evening, atop a cliff overlooking the sprawling valley, we watched the sun slowly, gracefully, sink behind the jagged, magnificent peaks. I took a deep, shuddering breath, feeling more fully alive than I had in decades. "Do you think life will ever feel this full again?" I asked her, my voice barely a whisper. Priya smiled, her eyes glinting in the fading light. "Life is always full, Michael, We just have to open our hearts to it and dare to step forward. The wind whispered through the prayer flags, carrying our laughter, our shared thoughts, and an unspoken promise that love, adventure, and courage have no expiration date. Together we faced the open horizon, two souls seasoned by loss, yet utterly fearless. Our hearts were renewed, our spirits light, ready to embrace whatever came next.